Hello and welcome to the SAP HANA Academy. My name is Dennis Van Kampen, and in this video tutorial series we will discuss SAP HANA Express Edition. The topic of this video tutorial is managing encryption keys. When you install SAP HANA, unique root keys are generated, and these keys are used for different encryption services. Now, obviously, on the SAP HANA Express Edition VM, the keys are not unique. In fact, they're all the same because it's the same installation. Now, for a training and test environment, this is probably fine, but if you're going to do anything serious with the VM, like developing your own application, you need to protect your system and change your keys. Now, this is nothing new. As you can see, SAP Note 2183624, potential information leakage using default SSFS master keys in SAP HANA. As one of the ways HANA was originally distributed was as an appliance with software and hardware bundled from a hardware vendor. And also in those cases, you would need to update the keys the moment you received it from the vendor. Now, there are some other notes that explain exactly what you need to do, and it's also documented, of course, in the documentation. So on help.sap.com, the SAP Help portal, and then under Technology Platform, you'll find the SAP HANA Platform Guides. This is from the Security Guide, Secure Internal Communication, and here you can see different secured internal communication channels. For example, the communication on the local host between the different processes, the name server, preprocessor, compile server. You'll see them listed when you run the command HTTP info. For our VM, it's not relevant, but you can set up HANA as a multiple host system, a distributed system. You have several hosts running a single database. You can set up system replication. You can add optional components like dynamic tiering for extended storage. And also, and this is relevant for our VM, when running a multiple container system, the communication between the system database and the tenants is secured, and it also locks the communication between the tenants. Now, of course, you can enable this in certain situations, but by default, this will be locked. So this is secure internal communication. It's automatically enabled in most of these situations using public key infrastructure, PKI, private key, public key, stored on the file system in what's called the SSFS, secure storage on the file system. Same technology used in SAP ABAP systems. So if you're an SAP Basis administrator, you have probably seen this before. Then there's also an SSFS store dedicated to the HANA instance. So there are two master keys, one for the internal communication and one for the instance. This is documented here in the administration guide, server-side data encryption. And if we scroll down a little bit here, we'll see here this SSFS master key for the SAP HANA instance. And it protects two root keys, one for data volume encryption and one for the internal data encryption service. Now, in this video, we're not going to cover data volume encryption. It's not very likely that you will be doing that on your VM. However, we are concerned with this root key for the internal data service encryption, as it protects these three services: secure credential store, access secure store, and the private key store. The first one, the secure credential store, is used to encrypt outbound HANA traffic, so not connections to HANA, but connections from HANA. For example, if you use Smart Data Access, which allows you to create some virtual tables inside HANA that mirror an external database or an external Hadoop system, can be all sorts of systems. The connection info, which may also include passwords, are then stored in this credential store. The second one, the Access Secure Store, is used by a JavaScript API you can use for your Access app. And if you want to store securely certain information, for example, credit card information, you could do so. And then finally, we have the private key store. And this stores public and private keys for client-server communication. The PSE, the Personal Security Environment, also called, and used, for example, for SSO. So we have these three database encryption services that rely on this root key stored in the SSFS, which is protected by a master key. If we briefly switch to SAP HANA Studio, there's a view you can query, mSecure Store, and it will show you both the persistence and the DP-API store. So persistence, the top one, and the DP-API store is this bottom one. Then there are 3 additional views to query what's inside the DP-API store: the credentials, the DP-API key, that's the JavaScript API, and the PSE certificates. Now, if you run this on your VM, you will find that all 3 are empty, which is a good thing because this allows us to modify the key. In a production system, if you'll find that these tables are actually populated, you should not suddenly change the root key, as you will no longer be able to decrypt any of those objects. Again, this is all documented in SAP Notes. Now, how do we update our 2 master keys and the DP-API root key? Well, for this, I wrote a little script. For your convenience, you'll find it also on GitHub. So github.com/SAP HANA Academy. And then in the repository for HANA Express HXE, you'll find here a directory SSFS. And if you open it, you'll see the change SSFS masters key script. So let's take a look at the script. First, we show on the screen some of the reference notes, and then we're going to update the SSFS master key that's used to secure internal communication. First, you need to set 2 variables: the location of the store, that's the data path, and the location of the key. They're under sys global security rsec SSFS, and then data and key. And then with the command rsec ssfx, we're going to change the key, and we're going to list the contents, but that's just for your information. We're going to repeat this step for the instance SSFS master key. Again, set the path. Here the store and the key are in the same location. Update the key and list the content. Then we're going to generate a new root key. For this, we need to stop the HANA database. So we're going to run HTTP stop to stop HANA. Then with the command HDB nsutil, we will generate a new root key, and then we'll start up HANA again. Then we need to synchronize the database with this new key. We do this with the command HDB cons crypto SSFS reset consistency, and you'll need to run this command twice because the first time you run it, it will only generate a warning. And this is to avoid the situations where you actually have objects encrypted by any of these 3 services. And you would not, of course, want to lose that data. So run it twice. It's documented in this note. And after that, we're going to run the alter system application encryption create new key command. It's an SQL command. So we use HTTP SQL for that. Finally, we print out a little reminder to back up your database. Just from now on, you will be using new keys. Note that we're using all default paths here as documented in the administration guide. And in note 2183624, should you change the path of the key file, you need to update the global INI file with the SSFS key file path and point to the right location. As I'm using all default locations here, I will not do that, but for your information. Let's run this script then. I'm connected here with terminal to my SAP HANA Express VM. I copied over the change SSFS master keys script to my home directory, but you can put it anywhere you want. Make sure you can execute the script. So you do a change ma user plus execute and then the name of the script, and then you can run it. So we start with our documentation and mention that SAP HANA is stopped and restarted. Press enter to continue. Then we're going to update the SSFS master key for internal communication, and we print out the content. So here we see the public and private key, and then we're going to update the instance SSFS master key, and here we see the DP-API and persistence key, the same one we queried with HANA Studio. Then we need to stop the HANA database. This will take a couple of seconds, so I will fast forward, and then you can see we are generating a new root key for the secure internal credential store, the DP-API. That's with the HDB nsutil tool, and it checks if the name server is not responding, and if it's not, meaning the database is down, then it will create a new key and prints out done when done. Then we start up HANA again, and then we are rewriting the SSFS consistency information, and that's the command you need to run twice. Then finally we need to enter the systemdb system user password to create a new DP-API root key, and a reminder to back up your HANA system. And if we return to HANA Studio, reconnect and query the secure store again, you should see the reset count updated. In your case, it probably will say 1 because it's been reset once. I've done some testing, so the number here is higher. But again, as long as you have not used any of these services, as long as there are no objects encrypted by those services, you can run this script as many times as you'll like. Okay, so much for managing encryption keys on the SAP HANA Express Edition VM. You can find more videos on our YouTube channel, SAP HANA Academy, so please subscribe. You can join us on our LinkedIn group or follow us on Twitter. And if you like this video, give it a thumb up. Okay, thank you for watching.